V'hainu perush pasuk, and this is the explanation of the verse. Hainu shelo nicham elokim v'lo nagam derech bechinas umadregas plishtim. That is, he did not conduct them. Hashem did not conduct them the way of the levels and the path of the plishtim de kedusha, of the plishtim of holiness. Hainu shemiyad b'tzeis mitzrayim. That is, as soon as they left Mitzrayim, shubechinas sur merah. That is, they went away from evil. When they left the boundaries and the confinements of this world, that a person is attached to them, that when a person goes out of this level, a person will come to the concept of happiness in Hashem in a full and open way, and in a revealed way. But that's not the way to do it. Hashem did not take us this way, to the way of the Plishtim of holiness. That first you have to reach other levels in between this. Because it says that tzaddikim should rejoice in Hashem. Tzaddikim daika, specifically tzaddikim, are able to do this level. And the explanation why, it's because it's close. Because it's close, it's possible easily to fall from this. Because when they see the battle, that is to say, when the test, when a person is tested, it's easily that the tests that come to a person, a person would not be able to stand the so to speak battle of it, and a person would go backwards. They'll go back to the boundaries, and meaning to say that that level of the happiness in Hashem comes together with tests, and a person will, so to speak, see the milchama, the battle of the tests, and will go back to the boundaries beforehand. And look what it says in the Mamar. Go after Hashem, Achrei Daika, that a person should first go to the levels of Achrei, the external levels first. Al derech ki minaseh Hashem chulu v'zeh v'lechtecha acharei b'midbar, that in a way of Hashem tests you, to go after Hashem in the desert. Ela haderech hanachon k'mo shekotzuv tachas tasher lo v'aratas Hashem elokecha b'simcha. But the proper way is that, like it says, because you did not serve Hashem, lokecha, enjoy, that is to say, avadatas Hashem lokecha, that shtei simcha idei avoda, that the simcha should come through effort and service. Like it says in the Mamar on this. And the idea is that we have to understand what it says in this verse, that because you didn't serve Hashem b'simcha, with joy, that, like we said, that this is of the levels of tzaddikim. Like it says that the tzaddikim should be the ones to rejoice in Hashem. And how is it expected from every person to serve Hashem with joy? And the concept is sheyesh beis mini avos, that there's two kinds of love. One love happens on its own through contemplation in Hashem's unity. And this is like a flame that goes up on its own, and is flaming with fire, and doesn't have any particular thing that it wants. And it talks about this in Tanya. And this level is a kind of level of love of pleasures, that the love has a pleasure in Hashem, great pleasure, with a great happiness, an awesome happiness, simchas nefesh, a rejoicing of the soul, the kalayasa, and it's wanting to expire. When it tastes how Hashem is good and pleasant, and on this level is what it says that tzaddikim should rejoice in Hashem. V'lo kol adam zoch lezeh. Not everybody merits this level. Sheni is the second love. He ha'av v'tayva she'anefesh m'tayva v'cheftze l'davka b'Hashem, is a desire that the soul desires and wants to cleave to Hashem. V'zehu yesh b'chol nefesh miYisrael, and this desire, v'zehu b'chol nefesh miYisrael, this desire is in every soul of Israel. V'ra me'od lisrachek mimenu chas v'sholom, and it feels very bad to be far away from Hashem, God forbid. And on this it says you should love Hashem. But that Hashem should be your Hashem. But however, what's the way to cleave to Him? No thought can grasp Him at all. So how do you cleave? The only way to cleave is through Torah and mitzvos. Those are the things that Hashem, Anochi, I, who I am, meaning Hashem's essence, commands you. Therefore, the happiness will be not in the love itself, like the first love, but in the Torah and the mitzvos, that through them we're able to cleave to Hashem, because we're in the actual feeling we felt far. And now we, and on this it says that the commandments of Hashem are straightforward and glad in the heart. And like it says in those Maimorim, and on this it says, because you did not serve Hashem with joy, with a happiness and a goodness of heart, that you have to have the simcha in your service, that is to say, the simcha in Torah and mitzvos, not the simcha like of the first level of the tzaddikim. That through this you satisfy your thirst, that after you accept upon yourself the yoke of heaven, and your soul thirsts for Hashem, and so through the fulfillment of the mitzvos, you satiate your thirst, and you draw down the revelation of the infinite light into your soul. And this level every person can reach. But just this rejoicing in Hashem on its own, without any kind of ends, like the mitzvahs, this is only the level of the tzaddikim. And since this is so, that our joy has to be specifically in the service of the Torah and mitzvos, specifically, so therefore it is enclosed in the action of the mitzvos. Like it says, that Elohim saw the light that it was good, that Hashem saw that it was good to hide. And he was hidden in the Torah, that the concept that Hashem saw light, and this is also the concept of happiness, and that the concept of light and happiness are one idea. Therefore, the happiness is hidden in the Torah, that you have to learn Torah and do mitzvos in order to reach this level of happiness. Like it says the Mamar and this light of happiness, it has to be hidden within the action of the mitzvos. And this is similar to the idea of a light being enclosed in a vessel, a maila above. So too through the hiding of the joy in the service, that's when you have a state of nullification without feeling yourself as an existence. Because that's the idea of avoda. It's in a way of a servant. or an acceptance of the yoke. Umizeh atzmo hu sameach, and from this itself you're rejoicing. Shezach lios eved, that you merited to be a servant to Hashem. Lemisha amar v'haya ha'olam, to the one who said in the world was, ve'ein od milvado chulu, and there's nothing else other than him. Ve'im kein b'chinazu hu hepech plishtim de kedusha. So the happiness that comes from that then is the opposite of the happiness of the plishtim of holiness, which is an idea of happiness in cleaving to Hashem in an open way and in a full way. And here we have a happiness in a state of nullification completely, in a way of feeling it because you're a servant, enclosed in the mitzvos, meaning to say in a vessel and not in the open. So there's a certain confinement to this happiness. Because you have to have the idea of that it's good to hide this life inside of the service. You're hiding the simcha. The opposite of the idea of revealing the happiness on its own. That the idea of happiness on its own without service, a person could come to feel themselves as an existence because it's not coming through avoda. And because of this, you could come to a given nurturance to the happiness of in a wild way, which is the idea of plishtim, the clip of similar to the idea of power of holiness, which is an idea of in the revealed world, from the language of you uncover the head of the woman by the sota. So that's the language of paro meaning revealed. That the level of paro also is an idea of a revelation in the revealed world, Yanikala Paro de Klippa, and this could give a nurturance also to Paro of Klippa, to Vihini lo mevoya b'midas kol adam. Now, not only every person shetzarich lios hasimcha rak ba'avoda kanal, that the service needs to be only, the happiness needs to be only in the service, elafilu b'tzadikim, but even in the tzadikim, shenamar simchu b'tzadikim b'Hashem, that by them it does say that the tzadikim can have happiness. Aval pichin in sarchlios bebechinas plishtim de kedusha biskalos simcha befilus kemavoy hamefulash l'reshus rabim. But nonetheless, it doesn't have to be like the plishtim of kedusha and a completely revealed happiness, like an open alleyway. That from there it goes to the reshus rabim. It goes and the public domain, that the alley goes straight into the street, and there's the mountains of separation. Like it says by Noach, that Noach drank and he rolled and revealed. He was revealed inside of his tent. To it says the fool doesn't desire Tvuna, doesn't desire understanding, only the revelation of his heart. Therefore the blessing is only resting on something that's hidden from the eye, meaning to say that to have it in some kind of vessel. That's the idea of hidden kindnesses, that the happiness is hidden inside of the contemplation. That wisdom and understanding are the two friends. And wisdom is the idea of nullification, of the level of the nothing before the something. And therefore the happiness that's in this, when it's enclosed in understanding and contemplation, does not give the kind of nurturance like the mavohel of mufulish, the plishtim of kedusha and so forth, which is not the case when it's in a completely revealed state of the heart. That's the source of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that one of the meanings of the tree of knowledge is, like our sages said, that Chava, she squeezed grapes for Adam Harishon to drink. So the concept that he brings here by Noah is similar to the concept of the first sin, which is a revelation of the wine that gives happiness, and like we'll have La'asi Lavo, and he's hinting to the fact that again the idea of the Plishtim is something we'll reach in the time to come. The one of the three lands, Kini, Kenizi, Kadmoni, and so forth, and Plishtim is one of them. The three Mochin, V'tzarech Lios Yain HaMishumar Ba'Navav, and this wine needs to be guarded in its grapes. What does it mean that the wine we're going to have in the time to come, that we're going to have that wine finally, but it's called now Mishumar Ba'Navav. It's guarded in its grapes, meaning to say, but now it needs to be in a vessel. So the happiness now needs to be inside some kind of vessel. And this is the idea of all hearts fear you, and on all the insides, and we'll sing to your name. So in the heart you have a fear, but on the inside you have a joy. That the joy is in a vessel. Like it says, you should have this rejoicing in a way of fear. That the rejoicing is in the innards and the kidneys, and outside covers the fear, and again, so this is in a vessel of the fear, and the happiness is inside it. This is also the opposite of the idea of the plishtim of happiness, of holiness. That this is the spreading out and the revelation. And this is why Michal rebuked David that she said to him, you're revealing yourself like one of the empties, that's not the way to have the complete open happiness. The truth is that the happiness was there in a vessel because it was within the avoda of bringing up the Aron. Kitzer, in short, and this is that Hashem did not conduct them, that as soon as we left Mitzrayim, we should come to a happiness that's completely open. Why? Because it's close from there to fall, God forbid, when you come to a test. At first, you have to condition yourself to go after Hashem, like the Mamar that he brought there. That first you have to go in a way of Achrei. Hamidbar. That first you have to be, so to speak, in the desert. And the service has to be with happiness. That the happiness should be hidden within the avoda. And that there's two loves. Simcha bli mevukash. That is, you have a happiness without wanting something specific, just a happiness on its own. Like we said in Tanugim, Beis Simcha al-Yidei Torah mitzvos. And the second Simcha is that through Torah and mitzvos, shemarvet mono, that you satisfy your thirst, ha'or ki tov lignoz, that the light which is good to hide. Fa'afilu b'tzadikim tzarich liosach sadim mekusim, and even in tzadikim the kindnesses have to be hidden. Al derech v'chol halavavos yira'ucha, similar to the idea of all hearts will fear you. V'chol kerev uchlayos yizamru l'shmecha, but inside all the innards and the kidneys will sing to your name. And that's why it says that Elohim turned the nation, the path of the desert of Yamsuf, of the Sea of Reeds, by Midbar, that is to say, similar to the idea of that you should go after me in the desert, that you should go the way of Achoraim, that the concept of the desert is an idea of going after Hashem, meaning first going through the Chitzonius before you get to the Pnimius. And on this it says the pasuk that you should go after Hashem, ka'ar yishag, and roar like a lion. What does it mean to roar like a lion? It means this is the level of bending yourself, controlling yourself, to have the mind rule over the heart. And look in the Mamar there. So too it says in the desert of Sinai, in the Oel Moed, Bechinas Midbar, who Kemoshikasuv Midabrech Nave, Miloshin Dibor. So too the concept of the desert is like the verse that says your mouth is pretty in Shirashirim, from language of speech. Midabrech Nave means your words are pleasant. Ki hine dvar Hashem zu gilei shechina. Because the words of Hashem, that refers to the revelation of the divine presence, and when the divine presence encloses itself into Briya, Yitzira, and Asiya, that's called the desert. The concept of speech, midbar, midaber, speech, betosefes os mem pesucha, that the davar, the words, has an additional open mem to make it into midbar. Because in these lower worlds of B'Yitzir and Asiyah, you have an opening, like the opening in the Mem to the Chitzonim, to the external forces, Hema Klipos V'Sitra Achra, which are Klippa, the covering over, and the other side, Lianik, Ulakabel Chayos Mimenu Chulu, to have some kind of nurturance from the divine presence in the lower worlds. So too, in the godly spark of the soul, even though it has already come out of the boundaries of Egypt, to go away from evil. That is, that when it left Mitzrayim, meaning to say it left the evil, so that's an idea of going away from the bad. It's still tied to the desires of things that are permissible, machmas taivas nefesh abamis, because of the desires of the animalistic soul, meluvushe noga, from the garments of the klippa of noga, of the klippas that are elevatable, not the three completely impure klippas. And you have to have this elevation also in a way of the desert, that's where you have this elevation. You're not in Mitzrayim anymore, but you still are, so to speak, in the desert. You're still in the lower realms. And how do you do this? Through speech of davening with flaming fire and of thirst, through a person placing onto their heart that all the worlds, from the highest level to the lowest, are a concept of a desert that's desolate in comparison to the infinite light. May be blessed. Like it says, the desert is a concept of going to the external levels, going after Hashem, and not the front countenance. And through a person's doing this service, they're able to purify the darkness to light. And that's why it says in Shir Hashirim that your speech or the midbar is pleasant. Like it says in the Mamar of like an eagle that will awaken, in the concept of I will find you in the land, in the desert specifically. He will guard you like the darkness of the eye, because Ishon of the Ayin, that's the black of the eye, that's specifically there, like it says in the rest of the Mamar, specifically through the darkness, that's where is revealed the ability to see and the light. So too through the darkness that darkens the person with the bitterness of his soul, when a person is in their eyes like a desert and desolate, in comparison to the infinite light, may be blessed. Through this you are able to draw down the revelation of the divine will. that this, and so this is what it says. Who's this coming up from the desert, coming up from this midbar, going out of this level, beyond this level? And look what it says in the Mamar, about the concept of the desert, that there it talks about the travels in the desert and the elevation. It's traveling through the desert. Not only that, at first you have to first go through the midbar, like we're saying here, but also going through the desert. You're able to elevate and purify that which fell in the breaking of the vessels, in the world of Tohu, that breaking of the vessels, the world of Tohu, is also called desert and desolation. And through this you'll reach the great and awesome desert, which is the world of Tohu and its source, which is the great and awesome desert, which is a desert that no person sat there, meaning to say that this is higher than the level of Adam, higher than the level of Zir Anpin. Ki tohu hainush enu musar, because tohu is the idea that it's not grasped, meaning to say that this is beyond the level of Adam, of person that can be grasped. So too, in Eitz Chaim it says in the name of the Ramban that tohu is the level of Keser, meaning to say the beyond the level of Chachma, level of wisdom. Like we said before in the Mamar, that you have this idea of Adam, and you have the level of low Adam, beyond measure. And that's the concept of the desert as well, that from the desert of desolation you can reach the desert of Tohu, the desert of Keser, the revelation of above. V'nimsa b'chinas zu the derech hamidbar zero el derech mashikos of the il bos hakodem. And so the idea of the desert here, this is like what we said before in the previous source of the Mamar, and that the second is a love and a desire that the soul desires and wants. And through this you'll come to an idea of face to face, and after the achre you'll come to face to face. Like it says in Eitz Chaim, that to have the elevation of the souls of Israel, first it's an idea of a unity of back to back. And afterwards you have the idea of the Malchus coming down as a point below Yisod, that the process of Malchus having a Yichud with Zah. First you have the Malchus becoming a one point under Yisod, and that's a preparation for the unity, for the Ve'achakach Aliyah Sheni Shenigdelas Neged Chagas, and then you have a second elevation that the Knesset Yisrael goes up to the level of Chagas, of Chesed Gvur Tiferes, Shelo Ad She'achakach Tigdal Kol Kach Keneged Chabad, until afterwards it even goes up higher to the level of Chabad, Chochmah Bin Adas. That Malchus goes up these different levels in order so that the parts of Malchus and the parts of Zah should be able to have a yichud. Dainu Aliyas b'shas matan Torah panim bipanim diber Hashem, and this is like the elevation of when the souls of Israel reached matan Torah and face to face Hashem spoke. That you have the concept of Chabad, of a revelation of Hashem's wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And similar from leaving Mitzrayim and going through the desert and reaching Har Sinai. And this is the idea of you were Ravava, like you were greatened, like and grew like grass, like growths in the field. I've given you Vitarvi Betigdali, and you grew and became great. Vayin Mashakos Mizeh Al Pi Mamar Azor Chele Gimel Bamidbar Daf Kuf Kaf Amud Beis Binyanu Balu Lekeren Bechinas Keren Zeu Yoset Chila Bechinas Bittel. And when it's talking about the idea and that the Kohen comes to the Keren, to the corner of the Mizbeach, That first you have the concept of the caret in the corner as an idea of nullification, a small point. When two sides come to a small point, so that's an idea of nullification. Nekuda tachais hayisod, corresponding, and so the mizbeach is the idea of malchus, and the corner of the mizbeach is the idea of malchus, as it is a point underneath Yisod, lo nicham Elokim derech eretz plishtim, and so this is what it means, that Elokim did not conduct them the way of the land of Plishtim, shu inyan simcha v'tuv levav bechinas panim bepanim, which is an idea of rejoicing and a goodness of heart in a way of face to face. But instead, Hashem turned us the path of the desert of the sea of reeds, the Hainu Kesei der Hanal. The first, you have to have the idea of going in the desert after Hashem, and only afterwards you have this idea of Malchus first coming as a point underneath Yisod, in the preparation for the Yichud, Shu Inyan Yira, which is the idea of fear. That first you have the Achoraim, and then in the way of Kabbalah soul, and then you have a concept of fear, and similar to the idea of crying and falling down in front of his legs from Megillas Esther, until you reach the level of face to face. And the reason is that the reason you do this way is to purify things through this. For ein mashakaz of odminian zelpi Mamar Hazor chelik gimel parshas balak daf kuf tzadik aleph amud aleph al pasuk shkorani v'nava. Look also over there in the Zohar that I'm black and beautiful. That meaning to say that through the shachlus, through the darkness, that's where you get the beauty afterwards. Look what it says in the Medrash that you pull something out and you plant it again somewhere else. That is to say, in the desert. That first you had the going out of Mitzrayim, and then in the desert, to go after me in the desert. Or Parshas Tetzaveh b'dibur hamaschil zachor da Amalek. So to look at the idea in Chassidus when it talks about that Avraham went up from Mitzrayim, and in the time to come we will be given the three land. And one of them is the land of the Plishtim, and this is the idea of the purification of the three first levels of Chokhmah Bina Das, because in the time to come it says, you will not go out hurriedly, and you will be not running out, not like when we left Mitzrayim. That is, in the time to come you'll have the changing of darkness into light, meaning to say it's not going to be a way of sur merav, running away from the bad and going away from the bad. Therefore you can have the happiness in a complete way, not like it says that then our mouths will be filled with happiness to Hashem, rejoicing in His works. Look what it says in the Medrash concerning wine. In Parsha Shemini, that in this world the wine is a stumbling block for the world. I'm going to make it into joy. Like it says on that day, the mountains will drip from the wine, for the same reason. And for this reason we'll get the land of the Plishtim, then which is the rejoicing in godliness in a full open way. And look what it says in the Mamar of the tzedakah of spreading out of in Israel, and how Yerushalayim will sit spread out beyond its wall. That now you have to have this wall in order so that there won't be a nurturance. Mash'enkin lasid lava, which is not the case with the time to come. V'gam kemosh kasuv v'lo nichamchu, like it says, Hashem did not conduct us. Like the Mamar explained before, that this is also the language of nechama, of comfort. Ben Yenachim when maybe the nation will change their mind biros milchama when they see battle, and like we said, that's also the battle of the test. And in the time to come, it says that they're going to cut their swords into plowshares and so forth. So you won't have the worry of battle like there was when we left Mitzrayim, that maybe they're going to see battle, but in the time to come there's going to be no battle, so there's no concern anymore of going to the land of the Plishtim, the concept of a full happiness.